There are moments when a few quiet words land with more force than the loudest speeches. Not because they are dramatic or polished, but because they carry the weight of a life fully lived. A message attributed to Elon Musk's mother, May Musk, has that kind of power. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand. It doesn't promise overnight success. Instead, it gently rearranges the way you look at effort, failure, time, and your own worth. And once that shift happens, it's almost impossible to unsee the world the same way again. What makes her words resonate so deeply is not that she is the mother of one of the most famous entrepreneurs in the world. It's that she lived long before the spotlight ever reached her. She worked as a model well past the age most people think is allowed. She raised children as a single mother. She faced financial struggles, public judgment, and years of uncertainty. Her perspective is shaped not by theory, but by decades of persistence. When someone like that speaks about mindset, you feel it differently. You sense that the advice has already been tested by life itself. At the heart of her message is a simple but radical idea: you are allowed to take your time. In a world obsessed with speed, this feels almost rebellious. Everywhere you look, there are countdowns and timelines. Success by 25. Stability by 30. Achievement before it's too late. These invisible deadlines sit quietly in the back of your mind, creating anxiety even when nothing is actually wrong. May Musk's message cuts straight through that pressure. She reminds you that life is not a race with a universal finish line. It's a long, uneven journey, and everyone starts from a different place. This idea alone can feel like a release. How many times have you compared your behind-the-scenes struggles with someone else's highlight reel? How often have you thought you were failing simply because you weren't where you imagined you should be by now? Her words invite you to question that assumption. What if you're not behind at all? What if you're simply in the middle of your own process? Another powerful shift in mindset comes from how she reframes failure. Failure, in her message, is not an identity. It's not a label that sticks to you forever. It's an event. Something that happens, teaches, and then passes. This seems obvious on the surface, yet so many people internalize failure as proof that they are not good enough. One bad decision becomes "I'm bad at this." One rejection becomes "I'll never succeed." One slow period becomes "I've wasted my life." Her perspective is gentler and stronger at the same time. She acknowledges that things will go wrong. Not might go wrong. Will go wrong. Plans will collapse. People will disappoint you. Opportunities will slip away. But none of that disqualifies you from trying again. None of it defines your future unless you let it. Failure becomes information, not condemnation. This mindset shift is especially important in an age where mistakes are often made public. Social media amplifies both success and failure, but rarely shows the recovery. You see the launch, not the years of preparation. You see the collapse, not the quiet rebuilding that follows. May Musk's message reminds you that rebuilding is not only normal, it's expected. Many of the strongest chapters of a life are written after everything seemed to fall apart. She also speaks, directly or indirectly, about self-belief in a way that feels grounded rather than inflated. She doesn't tell you that you're destined for greatness or that the universe owes you success. Instead, she emphasizes believing in your ability to learn, adapt, and endure. This kind of belief is far more sustainable. It doesn't crumble when things get hard. It grows stronger precisely because things are hard. Believing in yourself, in this sense, doesn't mean never doubting. Doubt is human. It means choosing not to quit just because doubt shows up. It means continuing to move forward even when confidence is low. Her message suggests that courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. This reframing can change how you approach challenges. Instead of waiting to feel ready, you begin to understand that readiness often comes after you start. There is also a deep sense of permission in her words. Permission to change direction. Permission to start over. Permission to reinvent yourself at any age. Society often treats reinvention as something reserved for the young, as if curiosity and ambition have expiration dates. May Musk's own life quietly dismantles that idea. She found new levels of success later in life, not in spite of her age, but alongside it. This can shift how you think about your own future. Instead of seeing age as a closing door, you begin to see it as an accumulation of tools. Experience becomes an asset rather than a burden. The question changes from "is it too late?" to "what do I know now that I didn't before?" That single change in perspective can open possibilities you may have already written off. Her message also touches on resilience, but not in a harsh, toughen-up way. It's a quieter resilience, built through consistency rather than dramatic breakthroughs. She acknowledges that life is rarely a straight line upward. There are pauses, detours, and long stretches where progress feels invisible. During those times, it's easy to lose motivation. You start to wonder if your effort even matters. This is where her mindset becomes particularly powerful. She emphasizes doing what you can, with what you have, where you are. Not everything at once. Not perfectly. Just steadily. This approach removes the overwhelming pressure to transform your entire life overnight. It replaces it with something far more manageable, the next small step. Small steps don't look impressive on social media. They don't generate applause. But they accumulate. Over time, they become momentum. And momentum changes everything. When you stop waiting for the perfect moment and start working with the imperfect one you're in, you reclaim a sense of agency. You're no longer stuck in waiting mode. You're participating in your own life again. Another subtle but profound shift in her message is how she treats external validation. Fame, praise, and recognition are unpredictable. If you tie your self-worth to them, you give away control over how you feel about yourself. Her words suggest focusing instead on integrity, effort, and personal growth. These are things you can influence, regardless of circumstances. This doesn't mean you stop caring about outcomes. It means outcomes are no longer the sole measure of your value. You begin to judge your days not just by what you achieved, but by how honestly you showed up. Did you try, even when it was uncomfortable? Did you learn something, even when it was painful? Did you keep going, even when no one was watching? These questions build a more stable sense of self. There is also compassion woven through her message. Compassion for yourself when you fall short. Compassion for others who are struggling in ways you can't see. When you understand that success is rarely simple and never guaranteed, you become less judgmental. You stop assuming that people who are struggling are lazy or unmotivated. You recognize that everyone is carrying something. This compassion can change your relationships as well as your internal dialogue. You speak to yourself more kindly. You allow room for rest without guilt. You recognize that pushing endlessly without recovery leads to burnout, not success. Her mindset honors both effort and well-being, ambition and humanity. One of the most mindset-shifting elements of her message is the idea that you don't need permission from the world to pursue what matters to you. So many people wait for approval before they begin. Approval from family. Approval from society. Approval from circumstances. But that approval often never comes. Or it comes too late. Her words suggest that believing in yourself sometimes means being misunderstood. It means moving forward even when others doubt you. Not in a defiant, angry way, but in a quiet, determined one. You don't need everyone to understand your vision for it to be valid. You just need to be willing to commit to it. This can be incredibly freeing. When you stop outsourcing your confidence, you become more resilient. Criticism hurts less. Setbacks feel less personal. You're anchored in something deeper than applause. That anchor allows you to take risks that would otherwise feel terrifying. The message also subtly challenges the idea that success must look a certain way. Society often promotes a narrow definition of achievement: money, status, recognition. But her perspective invites you to define success for yourself. Maybe success is stability. Maybe it's creative fulfillment. Maybe it's flexibility, health, or meaningful relationships. When you define success on your own terms, you stop chasing someone else's dream. This shift can dramatically change your daily life. You make decisions that align with your values rather than external expectations. You feel less torn between what you want and what you think you should want. Over time, this alignment creates a sense of peace that no external achievement can replace. Her message also emphasizes preparation. Not glamorous preparation, but patient, sometimes boring preparation. learning skills, building habits, showing up consistently. This kind of work doesn't guarantee success, but it increases the chances. More importantly, it builds confidence. When you know you've put in the effort, you trust yourself more. You're less shaken by setbacks because you know you're capable of adjusting and continuing. There's also a reminder in her words that life is long. Longer than you think when you're young. Shorter than you expect when you're older. This paradox encourages both patience and urgency. Patience to allow growth to unfold. Urgency to not postpone what truly matters. When you hold both at once, you begin to live more intentionally. Perhaps the most powerful aspect of this message is how ordinary it feels. There's no grand philosophy, no complex framework. Just lived wisdom, distilled into simple truths. And sometimes, that's exactly what shifts a mindset. Not a dramatic revelation, but a quiet recognition that you've been too hard on yourself, too rushed, too focused on the wrong measures. When you internalize her perspective, you may start to notice subtle changes. You compare yourself less. You recover faster from disappointment. You take setbacks as redirection rather than defeat. You become more willing to start again, even when it's uncomfortable. These changes may not be visible to others at first, but they transform your internal experience of life. Over time, that internal shift affects everything else. Your work improves because you're less paralyzed by fear. Your relationships deepen because you're more present and less defensive. Your goals evolve because they're rooted in authenticity rather than pressure. You begin to trust the process, even when the outcome is uncertain. This is why a message from someone like Elon Musk can shift your entire mindset. Not because it promises an easy path, but because it offers a realistic one. A path that acknowledges difficulty without glorifying suffering. A path that values persistence over perfection. A path that allows you to be human while still striving for more. In the end, the message is less about becoming someone extraordinary and more about honoring who you already are, while continuing to grow. It reminds you that your worth is not measured by how quickly you succeed, how loudly you're praised, or how closely your life matches someone else's timeline. Your worth is inherent. Your journey is valid. And it's far from over. When that realization settles in, something shifts. The noise quiets. The pressure loosens. And you find yourself moving forward not out of fear of falling behind, but out of curiosity about what's possible next. And once that shift takes root, it begins to ripple outward, touching every corner of your life. Decisions that once felt paralyzing now seem manageable. Risks that once felt reckless now feel like calculated steps. You begin to notice opportunities that you might have ignored before, not because they are flashy or immediately rewarding, but because they align with your values, your skills, and your evolving vision. This is the quiet power of mindset. It doesn't demand that the world change for you. It changes the lens through which you see the world. one of the most profound aspects of this perspective is how it reframes ambition. Ambition is often painted as something external, a desire for recognition, wealth, or status. But Musk's insight shows that true ambition starts internally. It begins with curiosity, with the willingness to test your limits, with the courage to pursue what excites and scares you in equal measure. It's less about proving something to the world and more about proving to yourself that you can keep going, no matter the odds. This reframing also influences how you handle setbacks. When you internalize this mindset, failure loses its sting. It becomes less about shame or loss and more about feedback, a signpost pointing the way forward. You start to see each challenge as a lesson wrapped in disguise. Instead of asking, "Why me?" you ask, "What can I learn here?" And suddenly, even the most painful experiences contribute to growth. Her message also encourages adaptability. Life rarely unfolds according to plan, and the ability to pivot becomes essential. Instead of rigidly clinging to a single idea of success, you learn to move fluidly, to recognize when a path is no longer serving you, and to have the courage to explore new directions. This adaptability is not indecision, it's wisdom. It's the ability to distinguish between persistence and stubbornness, to know when to hold on and when to let go. Another subtle, yet transformative part of her guidance is the emphasis on daily choices. Big goals can feel overwhelming, but life is made up of countless small decisions: what you focus on, how you respond to challenges, how you treat yourself and others. By consistently making conscious choices aligned with your values, you build momentum. Success, in this sense, is less about dramatic leaps and more about the accumulation of these intentional actions. Her words also carry an unspoken lesson about patience with the self. Growth is rarely linear. There are periods of rapid progress and stretches of quiet stagnation. Many people give up during the quiet periods, believing nothing is happening. Yet it's in these stretches that the most profound internal changes often occur. The muscles of patience, resilience, and self-trust are strengthened precisely when the external results are invisible. Perhaps the most liberating lesson is that you are allowed to redefine yourself at any point. Life is not a single narrative, it's a collection of chapters. Just because one chapter ended poorly, or unfolded differently than expected, doesn't mean the next one can't be extraordinary. Reinvention is not a privilege, it's a right. You have the agency to pivot, to explore, to create anew. Age, circumstance, or past mistakes are not barriers, they are context. Context informs your next steps, but it does not dictate them. In the end, the message isn't about mimicking someone else's life or chasing conventional measures of success. It's about building a mindset that empowers you to navigate your unique journey with courage, clarity, and compassion. It's about valuing effort over outcome, learning over perfection, and authenticity over approval. It's about cultivating a perspective that sees both setbacks and triumphs as integral to the story you are writing. When you embrace this mindset fully, your life begins to feel different. Challenges become opportunities for growth. Uncertainty becomes a canvas for creativity. Time becomes a resource to explore and experiment, rather than a ticking clock of pressure. The shift is subtle at first, an inner calm, a quiet confidence, but over months and years, it transforms everything: your work, your relationships, and your sense of possibility. And perhaps most importantly, this shift reminds you that life is yours to live, not by society's expectations, not by someone else's timeline, and not by the fear of failure. You are permitted to dream, to stumble, to learn, and to rise again. You are permitted to take risks, to redefine success, and to honor your journey, exactly as it is. Her message, distilled from a lifetime of experience, is a call to reclaim your agency, to choose courage over comfort, and to believe in your capacity to grow. It's not a formula for instant success, it's a guide for building resilience, curiosity, and self-belief that lasts a lifetime. And once you internalize it, the way you approach your life, your ambitions, and your potential will never be the same again. As this mindset settles, you begin to notice subtle but profound changes in how you see obstacles. Challenges no longer feel like immovable walls, they become puzzles to solve, opportunities to practice patience, creativity, and resilience. You start to understand that discomfort is not an enemy but a signal that growth is occurring. The very moments that used to make you anxious or doubtful now carry lessons if you're willing to look closely. Her perspective teaches you to value consistency over intensity. Many people mistake sporadic bursts of effort for true progress, but it is the steady, often unglamorous work, showing up day after day, making incremental improvements, that builds momentum. This kind of persistence doesn't promise overnight success, but it guarantees that when opportunities arrive, you are ready. And even if they don't, you have cultivated skill, confidence, and resilience that no setback can erase. Another layer of her wisdom lies in embracing your individuality. Society often encourages conformity, suggesting there is a single correct path to achievement. Musk's life, and the advice distilled from it, quietly contradicts that. Success is not a one-size-fits-all formula. It is deeply personal. When you stop measuring yourself against someone else's milestones, you begin to live more authentically. You take pride in progress that aligns with your values, rather than chasing external approval. Her message also touches on the importance of gratitude and perspective. Even during difficult times, she emphasizes recognizing the small wins, the moments of clarity, and the progress that might seem invisible to others. Gratitude, in this context, isn't about ignoring problems, it's about maintaining balance. It keeps your focus on what's within your control, while reducing the weight of what is not. A mindset grounded in gratitude allows you to navigate challenges with steadier energy and sharper clarity. Crucially, she reminds you that you are the sum of your choices, not your circumstances. Life will present setbacks, unfair situations, and moments of frustration, but how you respond defines your trajectory more than the obstacles themselves. Every choice to keep learning, to keep showing up, to keep refining your approach compounds over time. You become someone who doesn't wait for ideal conditions but creates progress in spite of imperfection. Her perspective also encourages curiosity and a lifelong commitment to learning. Rather than seeing knowledge as a tool to impress others, it becomes a way to expand your own capabilities and adaptability. Each skill acquired, each insight gained, becomes a new lever to pull in creating the life you envision. You realize that investing in yourself never wastes time, it compounds into opportunities, confidence, and growth that cannot be taken away, and perhaps one of the most transformative ideas is the gentle insistence that you are allowed to prioritize your own path. Too often, people sacrifice their desires, health, or values for obligations or societal expectations. Her words remind you that honoring your own journey is not selfish, it is necessary. Only by cultivating your own capacity, passion, and integrity can you contribute meaningfully to the world around you. As you internalize these lessons, you begin to notice how fear and doubt, while still present, lose their paralyzing power. You approach decisions with courage rather than hesitation, guided by curiosity rather than judgment. The small victories, the consistent efforts, the disciplined habits, the learning from mistakes, start to accumulate into visible transformation. Success, in its truest sense, becomes less about accolades or wealth and more about alignment, fulfillment, and resilience. Ultimately, this message is an invitation to live deliberately. To recognize that life is not merely a sequence of events to endure, but an opportunity to engage deeply with your potential. To understand that failure, uncertainty, and discomfort are not signs to retreat but signals that you are moving forward. To embrace patience, persistence, and self-compassion as companions on a lifelong journey of growth, and when you fully embrace this mindset, it changes everything, not overnight, not as a dramatic reveal, but gradually, in ways that feel natural and inevitable. You see possibilities where you once saw barriers. You treat yourself with kindness while pushing toward excellence. You approach life with a quiet confidence that is resilient in the face of setbacks, adaptable in the face of change, and courageous in the face of fear. Her message is not about perfection. It is about presence, action, and self-trust. It is about building a mindset that can withstand the storms of life while remaining open to its beauty. It is about reclaiming your power to define your journey, to learn from every experience, and to honor your own pace, process, and potential. And in the final measure of her message, there is a profound truth. Life is not about waiting for the perfect moment, nor is it about avoiding failure at all costs. It's about showing up, consistently and courageously, even when the path is unclear. It's about understanding that progress is often invisible, that growth is incremental, and that resilience is built quietly, step by step. Every choice to keep moving forward, to learn from setbacks, and to act with integrity adds up to a life of purpose and meaning. May Musk's words remind us that we are the authors of our own stories. No one else can define your potential, your timing, or your capacity to rise. You do not need permission to pursue your dreams. You do not need to meet someone else's standards to validate your worth. You simply need the courage to take the next step, however small, and to keep taking steps after that, trusting that the accumulation of effort, clarity, and self-belief will lead to transformation. This mindset transforms the way you see challenges, opportunities, and even yourself. You begin to measure success not by comparison, accolades, or speed, but by alignment with your values, commitment to growth, and courage to persevere. You learn to embrace patience without passivity, ambition without desperation, and self-belief without arrogance. You understand that life's journey is long, and that each chapter, no matter how difficult or uncertain, carries lessons that prepare you for what comes next. Her message is ultimately one of empowerment. It tells you that you are capable, that you are resilient, and that your path, though uniquely yours, is full of possibility. It encourages you to face fear with courage, failure with curiosity, and uncertainty with determination. It reminds you that progress is a process, not a race, and that the most meaningful achievements often emerge from persistence, patience, and self-trust rather than speed or recognition. When you carry this message into your own life, it changes everything. You no longer wait for validation or perfect conditions. You act with intention. You embrace learning in every situation. You respond to setbacks with strategy rather than despair. You redefine success on your own terms. And, most importantly, you allow yourself to grow, evolve, and thrive at your own pace. This is the essence of her wisdom. Life is a journey to be engaged fully, courageously, and intentionally. By internalizing this perspective, you reclaim your power. Expand your possibilities, and create a mindset that can weather challenges, seize opportunities, and transform ordinary experiences into extraordinary growth. In embracing this approach, you honor yourself, your journey, and the limitless potential that lies within you. Her message is simple, yet life-changing. Keep moving forward. Trust yourself. Learn relentlessly. Embrace failure. Celebrate progress. Define success for yourself. And, above all, understand that your journey is yours alone, rich with lessons, growth, and infinite possibilities. By living with this mindset, you unlock the ability to transform not just your own life, but also the world around you, one courageous, intentional step at a time. This is the mindset May Musk offers, a perspective that can shift not just your thinking, but your entire approach to life, empowering you to live boldly, resiliently, and authentically, every single day.